Welcome to the Spunky Spirit Podcast. I'm your host, Psychic Medium Carrie Muggs. This is where we learn all things spirit, everything from spiritual gifts, awakenings, ghosts, aliens, and starseeds. Nothing is untouchable, but always fun and spunky. I am honored to be on this spiritual journey with you, so make sure you hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Hello, and welcome to this episode of Spunky Spirit. I am Psychic Medium Carrie Muggs, and this week episode is question and answer. So I'll go over some questions that you guys have or sent in, some listeners, and I will answer them to the best of my knowledge and to the best of my experience. And again, take what you resonate with this, with some of the answers, and leave what you don't. So, and things that are coming up for me in Spunky Spirit. I do have a retreat in October. It will launch the beginning of June. So watch for that on social media, or you can add yourself to my email list. And I only send one email out a month. Sometimes I don't even do that. So if you want to join that email list, go to carriemuggs.com. Also, too, I'm going to have some spirit circles in June coming up too. So, and I'm going to try and get the mediumship course online. That might not be till June or July. So just watch for those things coming down the pike. So, okay. So the first question we have is from a listener, and they want to know what a crystal grid is used for, or what crystal grids do. So this is kind of awesome. I don't really talk about crystals or crystal grids because it combines I've used them in the past, but I don't know much about them. So I don't know, I'm not an expert on them. It's not my expertise, but it's a really cool thing. So it combines crystal energy with sacred geometry. So crystals have energy. I mean, all rocks, everything on the earth, everything has energy. Everything has a frequency. And certain crystals give off certain energies to help us with certain things. They're not the answer to everything. They just have certain energies, and they will raise our energy to their level sometimes when we need them for help. So sometimes if I need help connecting to spirit, I will use certain crystals like clear crystals, or amethyst crystals, or if I need help with protection, I wear a tourmaline bracelet with me all the time. So it just depends. It just helps amplify your frequency to the crystal's frequency. So, and then you add that to a to a grid which has sacred geometry. And sacred geometry is awesome. If you don't know what it is, I would Google it. It's mostly defined in the dictionary as an underlying geometry in nature. So it shapes nature, reoccurring patterns in the earth, and ratios. And so it's kind of like a geometry of consciousness. And it says that every, the flower of life is sacred geometry. The torus is sacred geometry. There's other things like the Star of David is sacred geometry. All of the things, shapes and symbols. The Fibonacci sequence is sacred geometry. It all has, there's always a mathematical crystalline energy or answer to how the earth is evolved or how the earth is created. And so we think of geometry as in school, but it's like a pattern it's like a set pattern and symbol that goes clear back to clear back to the beginning. So, there's the Fibonacci spiral. There's also the tetrahedron, the octahedron, I hope I'm saying these right, but the flower of life. And all of these have symbolic meaning to the tree of life. It's just really cool. And so what you do is you find these grids that have these sacred geometry patterns on them. And I think you can make a crystal grid without a sacred geometry pattern. You just kind of do what feels right, or place them in a kind of a circular motion. I've just always had some sort of sacred geometry pattern or grid that I put it on. So, and usually they're used for manifesting. So they can be used for protection, but manifesting is probably the most common reason that people use crystal grids, and they can also be used for protection around your home or to add, an extra layer of protection around yourself. And it's always, and also to balancing your chakras, which is crazy because all of these questions today are about this, about some of these things. So crystal grids can help do all those things, which is kind of cool. So that's kind of generic little information given there. You could do a chakra grid, which is you would do the flower of life grid, and you would add your chakra stones to that, and that could be kind of cool. That would help with your chakras if you're struggling with your chakras, or it could help if you're having struggling with protection in your home, anything like that. The energy of the crystal and the sacred geometry kind of works together, and it's actually super, super cool. There is different ways you can Google online, how to make your own grid. You can choose, mostly it's about intention. So choose the intention that's in your heart and kind of create your own grid. There's not like a set stone, just like spells or anything like that. You can do your own thing, and you pick your crystals that, hold the frequency that you want or that you want the space to be like, and then you decide on the geometry pattern that you want. There's different geometry patterns that hold different meanings. Like the tetrahedron would hold a different meaning than the flower of life. So kind of look and see which ones which ones you resonate with and which ones you would want to create that space with. So that was a great question. I am very, very interested in sacred geometry, but I will admit it kind of goes over my head sometimes. So the Taurus is my favorite. The vortex of the Taurus and the flower of life is actually pretty cool too. So I hope that it answers some of your questions. And the next one is, how do I know that a spirit is in my home? So I get this a lot. Now, here's the thing. I'm going to give you different scenarios or different things of how to know if there's a spirit in your home. But I also want you to really, really tap into yourself and feeling, how you're feeling. Because a lot of times we can be scared of these things, but they're not really bad. Like we could be scared if something so I'm going to name some of these things. These can scare us because they're not the norm and they're different. That doesn't make them bad. So just kind of watch what you're feeling around this. So things that, can let us know that there's a spirit in our home. A past loved one, or, sometimes a ghost or a lower frequency. And I think, too, it's so important, the feeling. That's why I'm like the feeling that you get. If there's a good feeling around this, then it's more than likely an ancestor or a past loved one. If there's a scary, bad feeling around this, then you can ask them to stop showing up in this way. And they have to listen. You have to be very confident in your asking, though. So that you can kind of control this. If it doesn't stop, it's probably not a loved one, because a loved one wouldn't try and scare you. So there's things like objects moving, pictures falling, you miss an object, you swear you put something on the counter and then it's gone, and then you find it on your bed. Objects moving like that. Lots of noise. This is clairaudient stuff. Lots of noise, like tapping, rapping. You can hear whisperings. You can hear voices. You can hear things. You can hear the clicking of the dog paws on the floor. Those kind of noises. Sometimes I will be laying in bed, and when I would do readings in my home, I would hear voices in the hall, and I knew it was just spirits getting ready for the next day. That's why I really loved moving my office, because I could hear spirits in the hallway, in my hall right outside my home office, getting ready for the next day. Pets, like I said, you can hear, and also to the way pets act. If your pet's acting weird, barking a lot, looking in the corners, running around, if there's something there but you can't feel it or see it, this is probably an indication that there's a spirit there. Also, temperature changes. When I did my readings at my home, in my office at home, my bedroom at night would get super, super cold because I could feel the spirits waiting for the next day for the reading. So now that I have my office, I can come in the morning and it's freezing. But so temperature changes will happen too. Goosebumps, things like that. That's kind of the feeling thing. Then electronic things will stop, like electronics will flicker, lights will flicker, clocks will stop, phones will stop. Clocks are pretty common. Clocks will stop, but that's a battery related thing too. Um, Stove ovens, refrigerator lights, ice makers. They like to play with ice makers. I've had a few spirits come through and say that they've played with ice makers a lot. So they kind of play with fridges, things like that, things in the kitchen. Also, too, if you see shadows like in the side, like if you look and you think you see something and you look away and then you look back and there's something there. And also just feeling like there's something around or you're being watched or somebody's there. Just go with that. And most likely if you feel or think that there's a spirit in your home, most likely there is. So you just got to decide if you like them being there or if you want to get rid of them. If you want to get rid of them, you could ask them to leave. You can sage, you can use Palo Santos. You can use the sage stuff. You can surround your home in white light. You could do a crystal grid like we just talked about. All of those things you can do. Hold on, to get rid of the spirit if it's bothering you. If it's not bothering you, you like it around, you can keep it. I mean, you can just know that it's there, recognize that it's there, talk to it, and just kind of just go with the feeling here. If you feel like it's kind of a dangerous thing, then I would definitely try and get rid of it. But if you don't, then enjoy it. It can come and it can go. And also too, it kind of goes really well with the next question, which was how do I know if an ancestor or a past loved one is communicating with me? So also, obviously, all of the things that I just mentioned, all of the above in your home if those things happen, but also too, if you hear the same song repeating over and over and over, this could be a loved one trying to reach out, trying to talk to you in a lyric sort of way, or Google the lyrics of the song and see what the song is trying to say. Or if you wake up every morning with a song in your head that you can't get out, that is just repeating and repeating, and then you hear that song that day, Google the lyrics and see what that means and see if that's, or if it is the song of the lost loved one. Also too, when we talk about clocks, if the clocks stop on the time of death or certain numbers, like things like that, that's kind of an indication too. Also too, numbers is huge. They use numbers all the time because they like to communicate. They like to show up with symbols and things like that, but they also like to use numbers to communicate. So if you're seeing number sequences a lot, I would kind of Google to see what their meanings are, because this is more than likely spirits, past loved ones, or ancestors trying to communicate with you. Like I've said before, my dad uses 777. I also have another spirit that likes to use their birth date and show up once in a while. So, and my spirits and guides also like to use the numbers to communicate because the numbers have meaning to them. And so they could be saying good job, or they can say, hey, there's a change coming up, or hey, you made the right decision. So, and there's general specific meanings for the numbers, but if you make your own language out of the numbers, that's great. Also too, they use the common things like butterflies, feathers, dimes. They use these at first because the frequency is really easy for them to use. So like my dad would use the feathers at first. And then when I got to the point where he was over there long enough and I knew exactly how he was trying to communicate with me, we changed it up to moose. So he uses moose. And this doesn't mean I have to see a big moose on my front lawn in the morning. It just means that I could be driving down the street and I could see a moose sticker on the front of the car of me. And that just means when these show up, that, and when I'm debating on things in my life, and it's just him letting me know he's there. But he will talk to me with numbers too. So they do communicate with numbers a lot. Also too, orbs and pictures, especially green or yellow orbs. This is them. They're around a lot. And when I say butterflies, feathers, it also means dragonflies, birds, things like that. They commonly can manipulate winged creatures. So if you see a cardinal or hummingbirds, they count. Hawks, they count. And they'll come exactly when you need them, and they'll look at you. They're very highly frequency animals. Orbs. I was talking about orbs in pictures. If you see orbs a lot in some of your videos or in some of your pictures, a lot of people are like, oh, that's just the lighting. Sometimes it is, but sometimes it's not. Most of the time, green orbs are your ancestors or your loved ones letting you know that they're with you, especially the color green ones, green, bluish, yellow, they're with you. Um, and also, like, make sure you talk out loud to them. I don't know why, but when I do readings, they'll come through and say, I hear you talk out loud to me. I hear you talk out loud to me. They really like it when you talk out loud to them. And a lot of times you can't. Like if you're in an airport and you're talking to yourself, it looks weird, but they can really read your thoughts too. So they know when you're talking to them quietly. But for some reason, when you talk out loud, it higher their frequency, and it's just acknowledging that you know that they're there. And so it's actually kind of a cool thing to do. So make sure you talk out loud to them. They can hear you. They can hear you. It's just hard because you can't hear them as well. So I hope that's helped. Hope those two kind of combine together, and just go with your gut, go with your feeling. You know your loved one, you know their personality, you know how they're going to talk to you. If it's more than likely, if they loved something on earth, they're going to come through that way. If they loved to play cards on earth, then you're going to see lots of card symbols, lots of spades, lots of hearts, you're going to see lots of that stuff. So kind of go with their personality too, and see if you have like a inside joke that you use, then that's amazing too. That's most likely how they're going to show up. That's why we use moose. Moose are for my dad, because it was a huge thing between me and him. Something I remembered him very well when I was little, and his watch, which was also lots of numbers on it. And so, because he would move his wrist a lot. So would my grandfather, because they would shake their watches. Because in the old days, when they would shake their wrist, it would wind the watch. So it reminds me all the time, my grandfather and my dad would always shake their wrists. Okay, the next one. How do I take care of my chakras? How do I know they're aligned? Now, some people will teach you to close your chakras. Some mediums do. I don't. I never close my chakras. I just protect. I use a protective white light around me, or I protect all the time. It's different mediums say different things. Some mediums say don't ever close your chakras, and some mediums say close your chakras when you're done with, but I don't. I just protect with white light around me. I love to have the energy open, and I just want my chakras open at all time. But that also means you have to take care of them. Now, water helps with chakras. Water helps because it will ground you. Also, too, you can make your own chakra grid, like we talked about, you put the chakra stones, so you get different stones that resemble each chakra. You put it on the grid, and that will help. And you could do meditating. I have a meditating chakra on my website underneath Carrie Connects, I think on the blog part. And it's how to balance your chakras. I used to do and I think it's a meditation where, because I used to, I used to do lots of chakra meditations where I would sit and I would, picture each chakra as either a lotus opening or, one of those Stargate circles opening and spinning, and they would open and I would clear them. I would imagine like light going through them and clearing them. So that there's a meditation. You can do lots of chakra meditations. I'm sure you can find them all over. There is one on my website that you could download too. And, I have a chakra kit that has each chakra stone in it, and you use a pendulum and you put it over the stone, and if it goes around in a circle, then that means the chakra is open. If it kind of goes back and forth or sits still, it means the chakra is not open. But you can make this this kit costs like $300 because it also has the oils that go with it. If your chakra is closed, then you rub that stone in your hands and you smell the oils. But you can make your own. You can draw a picture of like a body or a crystal grid. You can draw this, and you can set the crystal stones out on this piece of paper, and you can buy a pendulum, probably a chakra pendulum, and you would put it over each stone and see and you could do this for somebody else if they give you permission to also. But you can put the pendulum over each stone, and if it goes in circles, it means that chakra is open. If it doesn't, then just pick up the stone, rub it in your palms or rub it around that chakra, and it should help you open it. And if it's kind of closed, then eat foods for that chakra that day. Do the things, kind of Google what that chakra means, or do more research on that chakra and see how you can balance that. The hardest one for me is my top ones are always pretty accurate and open because those are the ones that connect to spirit. It's the bottom ones, the ones that the hard ones that you have to do the shadow work in, the sacral and all that stuff. Those ones are always the ones that, and just because your chakras are open one day doesn't mean they're going to be open the next. So just know too that it takes work. It's a daily thing. So but it's something you can do on your own, and you can balance these chakras on your own. And if you are struggling with one chakra, or you feel like, like your third eye is closed, then do third eye is fasting, I think. I don't know if there's a food that goes with that. I did have a class set up. I should probably make an online class about this, because I used to teach a class about what each chakra entails, what oils go with it, what foods go with it. Maybe I will do an online workshop or a workbook. I'll write one about that. So that's how you kind of do the chakras. Okay, the next question. How do I know I'm on the right path? Okay, I get this question a lot in my readings too. This one is hard because you want to stay on your blueprint, right? Like the blueprint that you created before you came to Earth. We want to stay on this, and our guides make sure we try and stay on it. But not to say that even on our journey on the right path, there's going to be some experience that we have to have that aren't so easy, because this is going to be a learning process. And Earth is sometimes kind of hard. I'm trying to change my mindset. I used to say all the time, Earth is hard, but I'm just, Earth is easy. It's really it's a journey. That's what I'm saying. Earth is a journey. So, experiential journey. So here's my thing. When I feel like, just know you can always change your mind. You can always change your mind. That's not a bad thing. We're here to experience things, and our guides are here to help us experience it. They're helping us on this journey, because we created this blueprint before we came, and we want to make sure we stay on this blueprint, right? So they're trying to help us. Now, here's the thing. I've always felt, for me and my experience, if sometimes it feels like it's just rowing upstream constantly, like I kind of liken it as a river, okay? We're on this river of life, this earth journey. It's like a river, and we're in this boat, in this canoe, and we're going downstream. And we use the oars to direct where we're going. We use the oars as guides. These are our guides. We use the oars to go different directions. Now, sometimes we have to paddle upstream to do some things, or to do, to maybe we forgot, we want to stop here. So sometimes it does feel like a bit of a upstream paddle. But if it's a constant paddle upstream all the time, and you're constantly exhausted, and things just are not working out constantly, then it's time to let go of the oars for a minute and reevaluate where you're at. And whether or not you're still on your way to Walmart. So if you have not heard my analogy about Walmart, it's that, please bear with me for a second. It's that whole thing where we make our plans, our code, our blueprint, and the destination on Earth is Walmart. And sometimes we get off sidetracked, and we're on our way to Target. But if we're on our way to Target, it's going to seem hard. It's going to be getting in crash after crash after crash, and it's just going to feel not right. But we've always got these false beliefs in our head that we can't give up. We can't stop, because that's what our culture tells us. You got to keep going. You got to hustle. You can't give up. You can't do this. But sometimes you can. It's okay to change your mind. It's okay to say, you know what? This isn't working for me, and this is causing me to become ill. I'm not going to do this anymore. And that's what I do in the corporate world. I was in the corporate world doing lots of marketing stuff for people, and it was like going to Target every day. I would get in my car and bawl because I didn't want to go to Target. And so once I started doing my thing, and once I started doing what I'm supposed to be doing, started doing readings, it felt like I turned directions and I was on my way to Walmart. I was going down the river and just using the oars as guides. So that's kind of how I measure it. It's your feeling. If you are stressed and anxiety and constantly trying to constantly in this anxiety stuff, it's just yourself saying, this isn't the right path. This isn't the right move for us. So just kind of feel that. Does that make sense? Now, there are some there are some choices that we make on earth that have consequences that we can't just walk away from sometimes. And, we have to fulfill those responsibilities like parenthood and things like that. We can't just say, this isn't right for me, I'm not going to do this anymore. But just know that these are all temporary. I mean, being a parent's forever. But this moment, they're not going to be 5 forever. There's going to be a time when they're 12. And so things can change. And so sometimes you have to just go, up crick just a little bit. But just know if it just doesn't feel right, if it doesn't feel like things are falling into place, or it doesn't feel like synchronicities are happening, or deja vu isn't happening a lot, then I would reevaluate and see, check in, do meditations, see what you need to change. Because it really could just be a boundary thing. It could be that you are on the right journey, you're just not creating the right boundaries. And that's kind of what I figured out. I'm on the right path. I just need to be more in control of it. I need to create better boundaries so I'm not so I don't feel like I'm paddling upstream all the time. I can kind of just go down the stream instead. Or sometimes we hit rapids, we're going down the stream, we hit rapids, we hit bumpy stuff, and sometimes we want to paddle back upstream so we don't hit the rapids because we don't want that. But honestly, just trust your oars, trust your guides, and know that you're being guided in the right direction. So just how you feel, and lots of questions. If you don't feel like you're on the right path, ask your guides. Start to build a relationship with your guides. I also have a meditation on how to meet your guides. Start to really converse with them and meditate and talk to them, and they'll show up for you, and you'll get signs and symbols that you're on the right path. 222 is a big sign for your making the right decisions and going on the right path. So, okay, guys, those are all the questions I have. I hope that helps. I love you guys so much. Thanks for sending in your questions. Thanks for just being part of this journey. I just really am appreciative of you. I really love you guys. When I do say I love you guys, I really mean it. I wouldn't be here without you guys. And I love being part of your journey, and I love that you love being part of mine, and I love that we're learning on this journey together. So hope you have an awesome week, and I will see you till next time. Be kind to everyone. Thank you. If you liked this podcast, please share on social media